Imagine being 65 years old, no savings, no pension, no plan. The government just sent you your first Social Security check. $105. Most people at that age are thinking about retirement. This man was thinking about building an empire. Today, his face is recognized in over 150 countries. His restaurant served more than 12 million people every single day. And it all started in the back of a gas station. This is the story of Harland David Sanders, the man the world knows as Colonel Sanders. And this is the most insane business comeback story ever told. September 9th, 1890, Henryville, Indiana. Harland Sanders is born into a family with almost nothing. By the time he was 6 years old, his father was dead. His mother worked long hours in a factory just to keep the family alive, which meant young Harland had one job: feed his brothers and sisters. At 6 years old, this kid was already cooking full meals: cornbread, vegetables, meat stews. He had no choice: sink or swim. But here's where the story gets darker. His mother remarried, and his stepfather made Harland's life miserable. At just 13 years old, Harland Sanders dropped out of school and ran away from home. 13 years old, 7th grade education, alone in the world. What do? If you're Harland Sanders, you work. Over the next 20 years, he tried everything: farmhand, streetcar conductor, railroad firefighter, insurance salesman, ferry boat operator, tire salesman. He failed at almost every single one, but every failure taught him something. Every dead end sharpened him. Because the universe was preparing him for something, he just didn't know it yet. 1930, Harland Sanders is 40 years old. He leases a small Shell gas station in Corbin, Kentucky. No restaurant, no kitchen, no dining room, just pumps, oil, and a tired man trying to survive the Great Depression. But travelers kept stopping, and they were hungry. So Sanders did what he always knew how to do. He cooked. He started serving meals from his own dining table inside the gas station. Word spread fast. People weren't stopping for gas anymore. They were stopping for the food. Within a few years, Sanders had expanded into a full restaurant, then a motel, then a bigger kitchen, and it was here, in this small Kentucky town, that he began obsessing over one dish: fried chicken. But here's the problem with fried chicken in the 1930s. You fried it in a pan. And it took 30 minutes per batch. 30 minutes in a busy restaurant. That's a disaster. Sanders refused to accept that. He experimented for years, tried every method, every temperature, every technique. And then, in 1939, he discovered something that would change fast food forever: the pressure cooker. By using a pressure cooker, he could fry chicken in less than 9 minutes, without losing the juicy tenderness inside. Fast, consistent, extraordinary. And to make it even more special, he developed a blend of 11 herbs and spices. A recipe so unique, so perfect, that he kept it an absolute secret. That secret recipe? It's still locked in a vault today. By the early 1950s, Sanders had built something real: a successful restaurant, a reputation across Kentucky, a future. And then one phone call destroyed it all. The government announced a new interstate highway, Route 75. It would bypass Corbin entirely. Overnight, the traffic that kept his restaurant alive vanished. Sanders tried to hold on. He auctioned off everything he had. After paying his debts, he was left with almost nothing. And then, as if the universe wanted to make sure he got the message, he received his first Social Security check. $105. That was it. That was all he had. He was 65 years old. Most men would have accepted it. Retired, disappeared quietly. Harland Sanders got in his car and started driving. Here's what Sanders understood that most people never do. He had a product that worked. His chicken recipe was extraordinary. He had proof. Thousands of satisfied customers over 2 decades. The problem wasn't the product. The problem was distribution. So he came up with a plan. He would drive from restaurant to restaurant across America, cook his chicken for the owners, and offer them a deal. Use my recipe, and for every piece of chicken you sell, give me a nickel. Simple, brilliant, except nobody wanted it. Restaurant owner after restaurant owner said no. Some laughed at him. Some didn't even let him finish talking. He slept in the back of his car. He drove thousands of miles. He cooked meal after meal for strangers who said, no, 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 no. How many times would you keep going? After 10 rejections, 50, 100, Harland Sanders kept account. The rejections climbed 100, 200, 500, 800, 1,000. 1,009 no's before he finally got a yes. In 1952, Pete Harmon, a restaurant owner in Salt Lake City, Utah, agreed to try the recipe. He put it on his menu. He called it something new: Kentucky Fried Chicken. Sales went through the roof. Within 1 year, it was the best-selling item on the menu. Word spread, more owners called Sanders, then more, then more. By 1963, there were over 600 KFC franchise locations across the United States, all built by a 65-year-old man who refused to quit. In 1964, Harland Sanders made a decision that shocked everyone. He sold Kentucky Fried Chicken, not because he failed, not because he was tired, but because he knew the brand had outgrown him. The price? $2 million. Around $19 million in today's money. Not bad for a man who was sleeping in his car just 12 years earlier. But here's what most people don't know. Sanders kept one condition in the sale. He stayed on as the brand ambassador for life. He kept traveling, kept visiting restaurants, kept shaking hands and taking photos. Because for Sanders, it was never just about the money, it was about the chicken. He became one of the most recognized faces on the planet. More recognizable than most presidents, most celebrities, most billionaires, a white suit, a black string tie, silver hair, and a warm smile. The Colonel, Harland David Sanders, passed away on December 16, 1980, at the age of 90. But his face still hangs on the walls of over 27,000 restaurants in 150 countries. His secret recipe, still uncracked. His story, still unmatched. So what can we learn from Colonel Sanders? Your timeline is your own. Sanders built his empire at 65. The world tells you that you have a deadline. He proved that's a lie. Rejection is data, not defeat. 1,009 people said no. The 1,010th said yes. And that yes changed everything. A great product finds its market if you don't stop. He didn't change his recipe to please the people who rejected him. He kept going until he found the people who recognized its true value. The next time life hands you a $105 check and tells you it's over, remember the Colonel, because sometimes the greatest empires in history are built by people who simply refuse to go home.